nothing like a nice cold Coke.
Bring home the Coke. Bring home the Coke. Everybody's happy when you bring home the Coke.
Commercials, 30 or 60-second spots, also came along in the 1950s, and their themes were as varied as could be imagined. Animation.
50 million times a day, at home, at work, or on the way. There's nothing like a Coca-Cola, nothing like a Coke.
Carton of Coke.
Celebrities.
Hi there. I'm Anita Bryan. We're having a few friends over this evening, and I'm just making sure we'll have enough Coca-Cola on hand.
No substitute for the
Special
good taste
effects.
of Coca-Cola. Even the bubbles taste better. There's no substitute
And
for
just
Coca-Cola
plain
that
old-fashioned
helps you
Americana.
I work in a factory, and when I take a break, I cool off with a Coke.
I don't work at all. I just stay home and enjoy Coke all the time.
Coca-Cola puts you at your sparkling best. Bring home the Coke.
The best loved sparkling drink is Coca-Cola.
These commercials showcased Coke for what it had always been, a pleasant accompaniment to daily life. And the life shown in these ads was one of leisure, relaxation, and comfort.
And you say, oh yeah, that's me. That's the way I serve Coca-Cola, or that's the way I want to serve Coca-Cola, or that's what I like to be doing. I like to have Coca-Cola when I'm on the boat or at the pool or whatever.
Many Americans watching these ads were able to identify with this standard of living for the very first time in their lives. And around the world, people were turning to that way of life and hoping to emulate it in their own way. It was a unique historical moment, one that would help Coca-Cola move once and for all from an American drink to a global one.
If you ever go down Trinidad, they make you feel so very glad. Calypso sing and make up rhyme, guarantee you one real good fine time. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Cumana, both mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. Oh, beat it, man, beat it.
Starting in the late 1940s, a sight that was commonplace on the streets of America was becoming just as common around the world. The familiar red Coca-Cola logo. History was on the company's side.
The period from the end of World War II up through the 1960s and maybe even into the 70s is sometimes referred to as the Pax Americana, the American peace. It was a period that included the early formation and development of the Cold War, but also was a period when American commercial and economic dominance was at its highest apogee.
In the years after the war, cities across Europe and Asia lay in ruins. Developed economies had been shattered. Shortages, rationing, and belt-tightening persisted well into the 1950s in countries from England to Japan. But America had survived the war unscathed. The standard of living in the United States exerted a unique magic to those still struggling to rebuild their own worlds.
I think in a situation of extreme deprivation, Coca-Cola would mean the same thing perhaps that packages of gum meant to little children who were given them by GIs. And that is some exotic, wonderful, unimaginable treat that has practically fallen from the sky.
It was within this environment that the Coca-Cola Company really was stretching its international legs. And indeed, because of the unique identification of its trademark, became known as a leading American firm, and a firm which also was uniquely American.
And the massive effort to get Coca-Cola to frontline troops in World War II finally helped the company gain a foothold around the world.
First of all, it introduced Coca-Cola to the civilian populations in a lot of those areas. The troops were the major beneficiaries, but some of the civilians got it too, and they enjoyed it. Secondly, as they moved through these various areas, contacts were made with various government officials. And so in the post-war period of time, there were entree points that hadn't existed previously, so you could begin discussions with people about establishing more permanent bottling facilities in the post-war period of time. So it just wasn't, okay, we were there, now we're going to build a bottling plant. You were there as a guest and a citizen, if you will, of those countries. And a lot of relationships were formed during that wartime period that resulted in business relationships in the post-war period.
The progress achieved by the Coca-Cola industry since the founding of its first Italian plant has been tremendous. Today, Coca-Cola is to be found everywhere, in the largest and smallest towns at every time and in any season.
Bottling plant openings like this one in India became full-scale celebrations. And not only was Coke available, it was selling, and fast.
It may have been aspirational for some of these folks. The American lifestyle was widely regarded as being something that people, like to emulate. And to have the #1 soft drink product in their markets was a good thing.
It gives you a sort of American vacation, like going to the movies gives you.
It brought with it the effervescence of American society in the effervescence of its drink.
One reflection of that American society came in the advertising used in those days, which often came directly from the United States.
And early on, they did use advertising that was pretty generic, what we called pattern advertising. So the same image of a pretty girl drinking a Coke might be used almost universally. And the only thing that might change would be the language.
Just as Coca-Cola had crept into popular culture in America, it began to do the same around the world. In Brazil, people started calling buses Coca-Colas because the fare was about the same as the cost of a Coke. A young Tokyo waitress described her feeling about the drink by saying, "It has the sweet and bitter taste of first love."
Truly an American custom that has become a world custom. Everywhere in the world, there is the need to pause and go refreshed.
There's nothing that prevents people from having Coca-Cola. There's nothing about it that's in conflict with religious beliefs, with dietary requirements, any of those sorts of things. The only place in which Coke is not enjoyed is where politics has entered into the fray.
In the same way that Americans had made Coca-Cola their drink, people in countries worldwide now made Coke their own as well.
Ob du singst im Männerchore, ob mit Damenchor gemischt, ob am Brunnen vor dem Tore, Coca-Cola, das erfrischt.
Coca-Cola grande le da mucho más por su dinero más, refresco y calidad.
Coca-Cola refreshes you best. Coke is all the way the refreshingness. Only Coke will do when you're thirsty, yes. Coca-Cola refreshes you best.
It's an American brand, and The westernization is a very big part of that, but it's the relationship that they're building. They somehow see themselves in the Coca-Cola advertisements. They want to be like the people in the Coca-Cola advertisements. They want to be refreshed by the drink. There is this kind of mystique, if you will, about the brand that transcends everything.
Time magazine described the beverage's global reach this way. It is simpler, sharper evidence than the Marshall Plan or a Voice of America broadcast that the U.S. has gone out into the world to stay.
I'm Paul Austin. We have just concluded a brief review of the past. It was a stimulating and rewarding experience to see the growth of Coca-Cola over the years. But today we're concerned about